Steinberg. I'm the studio owner of Om Operative in Seattle, Washington. I've teamed up with Seattle Yoga News to bring you this comprehensive guide to teaching yoga online. This video is meant to serve as more of a discussion for the business of yoga online and the mindset of a yogapreneur. So there are no rule books, there's no set way of thinking about doing your business online, but there are certain ethics that you can bring into consideration. Some yogis are using this time to branch off on their own, set up their own platforms, and teach from there. And then other yogis are using this time to renegotiate contracts, bringing into it the value of online teaching. So let's talk about what some of these changes are with online yoga teaching and what that value setting might look like. Some discussions I'm having in Seattle with my friends are yogis that have prepared pre-recorded videos and then shared them with unclear boundaries for how that content is going to be shared. And so when I think about this, if I Google search Tara Deiberg Yoga Seattle, where do I want that yoga to show up? Do I want it showing up for free on YouTube, or do I want it on more paid per purchase or paid per view platforms? Okay, and then once you are clear on that as a teacher, it makes it easier to enter into this discussion of contract negotiation. These discussions don't come naturally to every yogi, especially if you feel like the driving force of your teaching is to just be out there and meet your community. But it's important to understand that what you bring adds value. And so while you're having a community exchange, you're also having a business exchange happening at the same time. For me, I like to think about continued revenue streams. Okay, I set up especially my pre-recorded video library, and I think about timeline. And so there I'm introducing an expiry date for how long I want my video to live online. If I create a video and sell it one time, that exchange is done on my end, but you have to think and consider that as long as that video is living online, it's out there generating income. So I think about an expiry date, and you can decide what that is. Is it 3 days? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? But it means that when I take the time to plan a class, record it, edit it, compress it, share it, it means that if I have all that energy going into that video, I get to revisit it, and I get to have a conversation saying, it's been 6 months, how is this video doing? Is it getting a lot of viewership? Should we take it down? Do you want to repurchase it? Should I make you another one? Okay, now to that point, it is recommended to me, that I don't pay teachers per view for the videos that they share with me. Okay, and so the reason behind that is an unrealistic model to think that a studio owner or a studio manager is going to be going in and looking at every single video and counting the views and then paying the teacher per view. Okay, it's better just to consider your online offerings in a couple of different categories. One category is your live stream classes. Have a set base rate, maybe there's a sliding scale upwards as a bonus structure if your classes are getting really full. And then have your pre-recorded videos and have it as a set rate. Yeah, build in the expiry deadline if that is interesting or seems valuable to you. Revisit the conversation later, but just know that you're going to get paid a set amount for every video. Yeah. Another thing to consider is when you're releasing content online, who owns it? Does a studio owner own it? Do you own it? My preference is that it's both. Okay? There's a clear contract and a boundary for where it gets used, how it gets used, and for how long it gets used. And then on my end, I'm free to share it with multiple sources if I start building new relationships online. That feels more powerful and more ethical for me, so that I can create a few different revenue streams that are working on my end. Now, no matter where you live on the spectrum of like who owns what, how long it's going to live there, where the content is shared, we can all agree that the thing that we do not want to have happen with online yoga teaching is that teachers slowly start to phase themselves out of live streams and further down the road in-person classes for the simple reasoning that pre-recorded videos are cheaper for studios to purchase and use. Okay. There's an explosion of free yoga lately. There are always two sides to every story that we talk about. And so one side of that story is that yoga is more accessible now than ever, and people that have barriers towards the practice or people experiencing hardship have access to this practice. The other end of that, though, is that in order for yoga to retain its value, we're going to need a way to keep it sustainable for full-time teachers and for studio owners once this pandemic ends. And so the longer that free yoga exists out there on a very large scale, the harder it's going to be to reassign that value and to rebuild the yogic economy when we're ready to re-enter our in-person classes, open our studios, and open these spiritual centers. Free yoga is a powerful tool. It builds community. I use it. I give a free 2-week trial for every new subscriber on my platform. I've also worked in studios that had sliding scale and donation-based models. So I'm not saying it's all bad. I'm not saying throw it all away, but I'm saying that if you're using free yoga, if you're using sliding scale, if you're using donation-based classes, build into that business plan a way for you to make some financial earnings so that you can properly sustain yourself and we can properly sustain this yoga community so we can be in a place of stability for that service. I hope you stay tuned for this entire series. I have so much to offer. We love that you have your questions coming into us. Follow Seattle Yoga News on social media, Instagram and Facebook. Follow me, Om Operative, social media, Instagram, Facebook. Keep reaching out, and we hope that you stay well.